Housewife's Confession, the invisible weight of being a mom and wife. In the quiet suburbs of Millbrook, Connecticut, Sarah Chen Martinez appears to have it all: a beautiful colonial home, a successful husband, and 2 bright children. But beneath the carefully curated exterior lies a woman drowning in the invisible labor of motherhood and marriage. This 4-part series follows Sarah's emotional journey as she confronts the suffocating expectations of perfection, navigates the loneliness of being surrounded by family yet feeling unseen, and ultimately finds her voice in a world that has conditioned her to remain silent about her struggles. Through authentic dialogue and vivid emotional landscapes, we explore themes of identity loss, mental health stigma, and the courage required to ask for help. Sarah's story resonates with millions of women who have felt the crushing weight of being everything to everyone while losing themselves in the process. This is not just a confession, it's a call for recognition, understanding, and change in how we support the women who hold our families together. If you've ever felt unseen, unheard, or overwhelmed in your own home, you're not alone. This channel is a safe place for every woman who's lived through love, heartbreak, and the silent battles of family life. Subscribe now and let's share our stories together, because your voice matters here. Chapter 1. The Perfect Storm. The morning light filters through the plantation shutters of the Martinez family's colonial home, casting gentle shadows across the pristine kitchen island. Sarah Chen Martinez, 34, stands at the marble countertop, her dark hair pulled back in a messy bun that somehow still looks effortlessly perfect. She's already been awake for 2 hours, meal prepping, starting laundry, and responding to school volunteer emails on her phone. The kitchen smells of fresh coffee and the organic, gluten-free muffins she baked at 5 a.m. for her daughter's class party. Everything appears serene, controlled, magazine-worthy. But Sarah's hands shake slightly as she pours orange juice into matching glasses, and there are dark circles under her eyes that concealer can't quite hide. "Mom, I can't find my soccer cleats." 8-year-old Emma's voice carries down from upstairs, tinged with the particular panic that only children can muster over seemingly minor catastrophes. "They're in the mudroom where they always are, sweetie," Sarah calls back, her voice steady despite the familiar tightness building in her chest. She glances at the kitchen clock, 7:15 a.m. David should be down any minute, expecting his coffee the way he likes it, his lunch packed, and his dry cleaning ready. 10-year-old Marcus shuffles into the kitchen, still in his Star Wars pajamas, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Morning, Mum, can you help me with my science project? It's due today." Sarah's stomach drops. "Today? Marcus, we talked about this last week. You said you had it handled." "I know, but I forgot about the poster board part. I did all the research, I just need to put it together." His voice wavers with the realization that he might be in trouble. The familiar surge of maternal guilt washes over her. She should have remembered. She should have followed up. A good mother would have had this handled. "Okay, don't worry, we'll figure it out. Go get dressed and brush your teeth." As Marcus trudges upstairs, Sarah opens the junk drawer and pulls out poster board and markers she keeps stocked for exactly these emergencies. Her phone buzzes with a text from her mother-in-law. "Don't forget David's birthday is next weekend. I hope you've planned something special. The whole family will be there." Sarah stares at the text, her heart racing. David's birthday. How could she have forgotten? Between Emma's dance recital, Marcus's parent-teacher conferences, her own doctor's appointment she's been putting off for months, and coordinating the neighborhood book club, it had simply slipped through the cracks of her overloaded mental calendar. "Good morning, beautiful." David's voice comes from behind her as he enters the kitchen, already dressed in his navy suit, phone pressed to his ear. He kisses her cheek absently while continuing his conversation. "Yes, I'll be there by 9. The Peterson account needs our full attention today." Sarah hands him his coffee, black, no sugar, just how he likes it, and he nods appreciatively while wrapping up his call. David Martinez is undeniably handsome at 36, with the kind of confidence that comes from climbing the corporate ladder at a prestigious marketing firm. His colleagues respect him, his clients trust him, and his mother adores him. He works hard and provides well for his family, and in his mind that makes him a good husband and father. "How's your morning going?" he asks, scrolling through emails on his phone. "Fine," Sarah replies automatically, spreading peanut butter on sandwiches, while mentally calculating if she can get poster board supplies before the school supply store closes, pick up dry cleaning, grocery shop for David's impromptu birthday celebration, and still make it to Emma's soccer practice. "Oh, your mom texted about your birthday. Should we do dinner at the house?" David looks up briefly. That sounds perfect. You're amazing at this stuff. I don't know how you do it all. He says it with genuine admiration, but Sarah feels the weight of expectation in his praise. She's amazing at this stuff because she has to be, because if she's not, everything falls apart. Mom, I still can't find my cleats. Emma's voice is more urgent now. I'm coming. Sarah wipes her hands on a dish towel and heads toward the mudroom, but David catches her arm gently. Hey, you seem a little frazzled. Everything okay? For a moment, Sarah considers telling him about the sleepless nights spent worrying about whether she's doing enough, being enough, about the constant mental load of remembering everyone else's needs while her own remain unmet, about the loneliness of being surrounded by people who need her but don't really see her. Instead, she forces a smile. Just the usual morning chaos. I'll be fine once everyone's out the door. David nods, satisfied with her answer. You're incredible, Sarah. I don't tell you that enough. He kisses her forehead and grabs his briefcase. I'll be home around 7, love you. As the door closes behind him, Sarah feels the familiar ache of being simultaneously appreciated and completely misunderstood. She loves David, but sometimes she wonders if he loves her, or just the life she's created for him. A life where his shirts are always clean, his meals are always ready, and his children are always well cared for. The next hour passes in a blur of typical morning chaos. Sarah helps Marcus create a respectable science project poster in 20 minutes, using skills she didn't know she possessed. She finds Emma's soccer cleats exactly where she said they'd be, mediates a fight over the last blueberry muffin, and somehow gets both children dressed, fed, and out the door with their backpacks, lunches, and everything they need for their respective after-school activities. As she drives Emma to school, her daughter chatters excitedly about her upcoming dance recital. Mrs. Peterson says I'm really good at the turns. Will you curl my hair for the performance? And can you make those brownies that everyone loves for the cast party? Of course, sweetheart, Sarah says, adding hair curling and brownie baking to her never-ending mental list. She glances in the rearview mirror at Emma's bright, trusting face and feels the familiar pang of love mixed with overwhelming responsibility. After school drop-off, Sarah sits in her car in the parking lot for a moment, listening to the silence. This is her favorite time of day, these stolen minutes between the morning rush and the day's obligations. She pulls out her phone and scrolls through Instagram, seeing carefully curated posts from other mothers, perfect birthday parties, immaculate playrooms, family vacation photos that look like professional shoots. Her college roommate Jessica has posted a photo from her corner office in Manhattan, captioned, "Another successful client presentation, loving this crazy career life." Sarah stares at the image, remembering when she had dreams beyond coordinating carpools and meal planning. She had been accepted to graduate school for psychology, had wanted to become a therapist. That acceptance letter is still tucked away somewhere in her desk drawer, a reminder of the path not taken. Her phone buzzes with a text from her neighbor, Carol. "Can you pick up Tyler from soccer practice today? I'm stuck in a work meeting that ran over." Sarah types back quickly, "Of course, no problem." It's never a problem. She's the reliable one, the one who never says no, the one who somehow always manages to make it work. But as she starts the car and begins her day of errands, doctor's appointments for the kids, grocery shopping, and volunteer work, she can't shake the feeling that she's disappearing a little more each day. The grocery store is busy with other mothers doing their weekly shopping. Sarah navigates the aisles with practiced efficiency, her list organized by store layout to maximize time. She runs into Linda, another mom from Emma's class, who looks equally frazzled. "How do you always look so put together?" Linda asks, gesturing at Sarah's outfit, jeans and a sweater that she's learned to dress up with jewelry and boots. "I feel like I'm barely keeping my head above water." Sarah wants to laugh, or maybe cry. "Trust me, it's all smoke and mirrors. I forgot my husband's birthday until this morning." "Oh, honey, we've all been there. Last month I sent Marcus to school with an empty lunchbox because I was so distracted." Linda pauses, studying Sarah's face. "You know, there's a new mom support group that meets at the community center on Thursday mornings. Just coffee and conversation. You should come." Sarah smiles politely. "That sounds nice. I'll have to check my schedule." But even as she says it, she's mentally cataloging Thursday mornings. Emma's early piano lesson, Marcus's orthodontist appointment, David's mother coming for lunch. There's no room for coffee and conversation with other struggling mothers. As she loads groceries into her car, Sarah catches her reflection in the window. She looks tired, older than her 34 years. When did the lines around her eyes become so pronounced? When did her shoulders start carrying such visible tension? Her phone rings. It's the school nurse. "Mrs. Martinez, Emma is in my office with a stomachache. She's not running a fever, but she's pretty upset. Can you come pick her up?" Sarah checks the time. If she picks up Emma now, she'll miss David's dry cleaning, which means he won't have his good shirt for tomorrow's big presentation. But Emma needs her. "I'll be right there," she says, already mentally rearranging her afternoon. Emma is curled up on the nurse's cot, looking small and pale. When she sees Sarah, she immediately reaches for her. "Mommy, my tummy hurts really bad." Sarah gathers her daughter into her arms, feeling the familiar fierce protectiveness that motherhood brings. "I'm here, baby. Let's get you home." As they walk to the car, Emma looks up at her with serious 8-year-old eyes. "Mommy, are you sad?" The question catches Sarah off guard. "Why do you ask that, sweetheart? You look sad sometimes, when you think we're not watching." Sarah's heart clenches. She thought she was hiding it better. "I'm not sad, baby. I'm just tired sometimes. Being a grown-up is hard work. Harder than being a kid?" Sarah considers this as she buckles Emma into her car seat. "Different kind of hard. But I love being your mommy more than anything in the world. That part isn't hard at all." Emma seems satisfied with this answer, but Sarah carries her daughter's observation with her for the rest of the day. Even her 8-year-old can see what David seems to miss, that she's struggling, that she's not as okay as she pretends to be. That evening, after a dinner of takeout pizza, because there wasn't time to cook after Emma's impromptu early pickup, Sarah sits at the kitchen table helping Marcus with his homework, while Emma practices piano in the living room. David is upstairs on a work call that could go late. The house is filled with the comfortable sounds of family life, but Sarah feels oddly disconnected from it all. She's present, but not really there, going through the motions of mother-wife household manager, while feeling like she's watching someone else's life. Her phone buzzes with another text from David's mother. "I spoke with David about dinner Sunday. I'll bring the cake. You just focus on making his favorite meal. He works so hard he deserves something special." Sarah stares at the message, feeling the familiar tightness in her chest intensify. She works hard too, every single day, but somehow her efforts are invisible, expected rather than celebrated. When was the last time someone asked what her favorite meal was? When was the last time someone made her feel like she deserved something special? As she tucks the children into bed that night, reading stories and saying prayers and giving kisses and promising to leave hall lights on, Sarah realizes she can't remember the last time she felt truly happy. Content, maybe. Satisfied with her children's well-being? Yes. But genuinely, personally happy. That feeling seems as distant as her graduate school acceptance letter, tucked away and almost forgotten. David is already in bed when she finally makes it upstairs, scrolling through his phone. "How was your day?" he asks absently. "Fine," she says again. That automatic response that means nothing and everything. She goes through her nighttime routine, washing her face, brushing her teeth, changing into pajamas, while David continues working. As she slides into bed beside him, David reaches over and squeezes her hand. "Thanks for handling Emma's pickup today. I know that messed up your afternoon." "It's okay," she whispers, though it wasn't really okay. Nothing was okay anymore, but she doesn't know how to say that without sounding ungrateful for a life that, on paper, is everything she's supposed to want. David's breathing evens out within minutes, but Sarah lies awake, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow will bring another day of invisible labor, emotional management and self-sacrifice disguised as love. She'll wake up early, make breakfast, pack lunches, coordinate schedules, solve problems, kiss scraped knees, mediate sibling conflicts, run errands, cook dinner, help with homework, manage bedtime routines and fall into bed exhausted, only to do it all again the next day. And somewhere in all of that, she's lost herself completely. The thought should frighten her, but instead it brings a strange sense of relief. At least now she can name what she's been feeling. At least now she knows why Emma can see the sadness she tries so hard to hide. As she finally drifts off to sleep, Sarah makes a decision. Something has to change. She can't keep living this way, disappearing a little more each day, while everyone around her stays blissfully unaware of her slow erosion. Tomorrow, she decides, she'll start figuring out how to find herself again. Somehow. Chapter 2. Cracks in the Foundation. The morning sun streams through the kitchen windows as Sarah stands at the sink, washing the breakfast dishes by hand despite having a perfectly functional dishwasher. There's something meditative about the warm water and rhythmic motions, a brief moment of mindfulness before the day's chaos begins. But even this small ritual is interrupted by the mental checklist running constantly in her head. David's birthday dinner planning, Emma's dance recital costume alterations, Marcus's school project supplies, her own doctor's appointment she's rescheduled 3 times, the grocery shopping, the dry cleaning, the endless stream of small decisions that somehow feel monumentally important. "Mum, can I have pancakes for breakfast?" Emma asks, padding into the kitchen in her unicorn pajamas. Sarah glances at the clock. 7 a.m. If she makes pancakes now, she'll be rushing to get Emma to school on time, which means she'll be late for her morning coffee with her friend Jennifer, the first social interaction she's scheduled for herself in weeks. "How about tomorrow morning, sweetheart? Today we need to stick to cereal and toast." She hates disappointing Emma, but she's learning to recognize when she's at capacity. Emma's face falls slightly, but she nods. "Okay, Mommy." The small disappointment feels like a knife to Sarah's chest. This is the impossible balance of motherhood, saying no to preserve your sanity while feeling guilty for not being the endless fountain of yes your children expect. David appears in the kitchen, already dressed for work, checking his phone. "Morning, ladies. Sarah, did you remember to pick up my grey suit from the cleaners?" The suit. The one she was supposed to pick up yesterday before Emma's emergency pickup from school. Sarah's stomach drops. "I'm so sorry, I completely forgot. Emma was sick and it's fine, I'll wear the navy one. But I really need that suit for the Peterson presentation on Friday. Can you grab it today?" His tone is patient, understanding even, but Sarah feels the weight of yet another task added to her list. "Of course, I'll get it this morning." After David leaves and the children are finally out the door, Marcus with his completed science project, Emma with her backpack and the permission slip Sarah remembered to sign at the last minute, Sarah sits in her car outside Emma's school and calls Jennifer. "I'm so sorry, but I can't make coffee this morning. I have to run to the dry cleaners and then—" "Sarah?" Jennifer's voice is firm but kind. "When was the last time you did something just for you? Something that wasn't about David or the kids or the house?" Sarah opens her mouth to answer and realizes she can't. I don't know. Come to coffee. The dry cleaning will still be there in an hour. But David needs his suit and I have to grocery shop for his birthday dinner and—" "Sarah, 1 hour. For you." Something in Jennifer's tone makes Sarah pause. Jennifer has been her friend since their children were in preschool together, and she's one of the few people who seems to actually see Sarah as more than just a mother and wife. "Okay," Sarah says quietly. 1 hour. They meet at Brewster's, a cozy coffee shop downtown that Sarah used to frequent before her life became consumed by everyone else's needs. Jennifer is already there, sitting at a corner table with 2 lattes. "You look exhausted," Jennifer says without preamble as Sarah sits down. Sarah laughs, but there's no humor in it. "Thanks. That's exactly what every woman wants to hear." "I'm serious. When was the last time you slept through the night? When was the last time you had a conversation about something other than your family's schedule?" "I love my family," Sarah says defensively. "I know you do, but what about loving yourself?" The question hangs in the air between them. Sarah stares into her latte, watching the foam swirl. "I don't know how to do that anymore. I don't even know who I am outside of being David's wife and Emma and Marcus's mom. Do you remember when we first met? At that preschool orientation? You were talking about going back to school for psychology. You were so passionate about it." Sarah does remember. She remembers feeling excited about her future, about the possibility of helping people, of using her mind for something beyond meal planning and scheduling. That feels like a different person, a different life. It doesn't have to be. You could still apply for graduate programs, part-time, evening classes. With what time, with what energy? Sarah's voice rises slightly, drawing glances from other patrons. She lowers it. "Jennifer, I'm already drowning. I can barely keep up with what I have now." "Then maybe you need to change what you have now." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. Change what she has. The beautiful house, the successful husband, the healthy children, the life that everyone tells her she should be grateful for. I can't just— David works so hard and the kids need stability. I can't be selfish." "Taking care of yourself isn't selfish, Sarah. It's necessary." Jennifer leans forward, her eyes intense. "You know what I see when I look at you? I see someone who's given so much of herself away that there's almost nothing left, and that's not sustainable." Sarah feels tears prick at the corners of her eyes. "I don't know how to ask for help. I don't even know what kind of help I need." "Start small. What's one thing you could do today just for you?" Sarah thinks about it. "I've been meaning to call that therapist Dr. Williams recommended, just to talk to someone professional about all of this." "Perfect. Do it today, right after we finish coffee." As they talk, Sarah feels something she hasn't experienced in months, the sensation of being seen and heard as an individual person rather than as someone's caretaker. It's both liberating and terrifying. Her phone buzzes with a text from David. "Can you also pick up milk and bread while you're out? We're almost out." Sarah shows Jennifer the text, and they both look at it for a moment. "Do you want to know something?" Jennifer says. "Mike would never text me a shopping list while I was having coffee with a friend, because he knows how to check the refrigerator and go to the store himself. David's just busy." "Sarah, stop making excuses for him. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but he's gotten comfortable with you managing everything, and you've gotten comfortable being responsible for everything." The truth of this statement settles over Sarah like a weight. She has become comfortable with being indispensable, with being needed. But somewhere along the way, being needed became more important than being valued, and being valued became less important than being useful. After coffee, Sarah sits in her car and calls Dr. Rebecca Martinez, no relation to David, the therapist recommended by her family doctor. She almost hangs up twice before the receptionist answers. "I'd like to schedule an appointment," Sarah says, her heart pounding. "Of course. What brings you in?" Sarah struggles for words. I think I'm lost, and I don't know how to find myself again." The first available appointment is the following Tuesday at 2 p.m. Sarah looks at her mental calendar. Marcus has early dismissal. Emma has a playdate, and she's supposed to volunteer at the school book fair, but something in her refuses to reschedule this time. "I'll take it," she says. The rest of the morning passes in its usual blur of errands and obligations. At the dry cleaner, she apologizes profusely for being late. At the grocery store, she finds herself lingering in the book section, running her fingers along psychology textbooks and self-help titles she doesn't have time to read. When she picks up Emma from school, her daughter seems brighter, more energetic. "How was your day, sweetie?" "Good. I told Mrs. Peterson about my stomachache yesterday, and she said sometimes our bodies hurt when our feelings are upset. Is that true, Mommy?" Sarah glances at Emma in the rearview mirror, struck by her daughter's insight. "Yes, baby, that's true. Sometimes when we're sad or worried, our bodies feel sick too. Were you worried about something yesterday? Is that why you look sad?" Out of the mouths of babes, Sarah pulls over to the side of the road and turns to face her daughter. "You know what, Em? Sometimes Mommy does worry about things. All mummies do. But it's not your job to take care of Mommy's feelings. That's my job. But I want to help you feel better." The innocence and love in Emma's voice brings tears to Sarah's eyes. "You help me feel better just by being you, by letting me be your mommy. But grown-ups need to talk to other grown-ups about their big feelings, okay?" That evening, as the family sits around the dinner table, Sarah makes an announcement. "I scheduled a doctor's appointment for myself on Tuesday. I'll need to leave at 1:30. David looks up from his plate. "Is everything okay? Are you sick?" "I'm fine. It's just a routine checkup." The lie comes easily, but it tastes bitter. She's not ready to tell David about the therapist. She's not ready to admit that she needs professional help to figure out her own life. "I can pick up the kids if you're running late," David offers. "Actually, I was hoping you could do that anyway. I might need to run a few errands afterward." It's a small thing, asking David to handle pickup. But for Sarah, it feels revolutionary. After dinner, as she helps Emma with homework and supervises Marcus's bath, Sarah finds herself paying attention to her own reactions, her own feelings, in a way she hasn't in years. She notices the tightness in her shoulders when Emma struggles with math problems. She notices the flash of resentment when David settles in to watch TV while she manages the bedtime routines. She notices the bone-deep exhaustion that goes beyond physical tiredness. Later that night, as she and David get ready for bed, he mentions his birthday dinner. "Mom called today. She's really excited about Sunday. She said she's bringing her famous chocolate cake." Sarah nods while brushing her teeth. "I thought I'd make your favorite, the lamb with rosemary potatoes." "That sounds perfect. You're amazing at hosting. Mom always says so. Amazing at hosting." Sarah studies her reflection in the bathroom mirror. When did she become someone who was valued primarily for her ability to create comfortable experiences for other people? "David," she says carefully, "do you ever think about what I might want? What would make me happy?" He looks surprised by the question. "Of course I do. You love making people happy. You're naturally nurturing. It's one of the things I fell in love with about you. But what if I wanted something different? What if I wanted to go back to school or get a job or—" "Sarah, where is this coming from? Are you unhappy?" His tone is genuinely concerned, but Sarah can hear the underlying confusion. In his mind, She has everything a woman should want. I don't know, she says honestly. I don't know if I'm unhappy or just empty. I feel like I've lost myself somewhere along the way. David pulls her into his arms. Honey, you're just stressed. Once the kids are older, things will be easier. You'll have more time for yourself then. But Sarah is beginning to understand that this is exactly the problem. She's been putting herself on hold, waiting for someday, waiting for easier, waiting for permission to matter, and someday never comes. That night she lies awake thinking about the woman she used to be, the one with dreams and ambitions, the one who believed she could make a difference in the world. That woman feels like a stranger now, but maybe she's still in there somewhere waiting to be rediscovered. As David sleeps peacefully beside her, Sarah makes another decision. After the therapist appointment, she's going to do something else, Jennifer suggested. She's going to visit the local college campus and pick up a graduate school catalogue. It's a small step, but it feels like the beginning of something larger. The beginning of remembering that she's not just a supporting character in everyone else's story, she's the protagonist of her own. The thought is both thrilling and terrifying. Change is scary, especially when you've built a life around being indispensable to everyone except yourself. But as Sarah finally drifts off to sleep, she feels something she hasn't experienced in years. A tiny spark of hope. Chapter 3. The Unraveling. Tuesday afternoon arrives grey and drizzly, matching Sarah's mood as she sits in Dr. Rebecca Martinez's waiting room. The space is deliberately calming. Soft lighting, neutral colours, the kind of abstract art that's supposed to be soothing. But Sarah's hands shake slightly as she fills out the intake forms. What brings you here today? Dr. Martinez is a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and an air of patient competence. Her office smells like lavender and contains more books than furniture. I don't really know where to start, Sarah admits, settling into the comfortable chair across from the therapist. I have a good life, a husband who loves me, 2 healthy children, a beautiful home. I should be happy. Should is a heavy word, Dr. Martinez observes. What does happy feel like to you? The question catches Sarah off guard. When was the last time she even considered what happiness meant to her personally? I used to feel excited about things, curious, like I was building towards something. Now I just feel like I'm maintaining everyone else's life. Tell me about a typical day, as Sarah walks through her daily routine, the early morning prep, the family breakfast, school drop-offs, errands, pickups, activities, dinner, homework help, bedtime routines. She realizes she's describing a life that has no space for her own needs, desires, or even basic rest. When do you take time for yourself in this schedule? Dr. Martinez asks. Well, sometimes after everyone goes to bed, I'll watch Netflix for a while. And before you had children, what did you enjoy doing? Sarah closes her eyes, trying to remember. I loved reading psychology books. I was fascinated by human behavior, by helping people understand themselves. I wanted to be a therapist, actually. She laughs ruefully. I guess I ended up on the other side of the couch. What stopped you from pursuing that dream? Life, I guess. David got that promotion, and we bought the house, and Emma came along, and then Marcus. There was always a reason to wait. David said we didn't need the stress of me being in school with young children. Dr. Martinez nods thoughtfully. How did you feel about that decision? Grateful, I think. David worked so hard to provide for us. It felt selfish to want more. Even as she says it, Sarah recognizes the pattern Jennifer pointed out, making excuses, prioritizing everyone else's comfort over her own growth. Sarah, can I ask you something? If your daughter Emma came to you in 20 years and said her husband thought it would be stressful for her to pursue her dreams, what would you tell her? The question hits like a physical blow. Sarah imagines Emma, bright and eager, being told to wait, to put her aspirations on hold indefinitely. The thought makes her feel slightly sick. I'd tell her that her dreams matter, that she shouldn't have to choose between having a family and having a self. But you don't apply that same compassion to yourself. I guess I don't. Sarah feels tears starting. I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm David's wife, Emma and Marcus's mother, the room mom, the neighborhood volunteer, the family scheduler. But Sarah, I don't know what Sarah wants or needs or dreams about. Dr. Martinez hands her tissues. The fact that you're here, asking these questions, tells me Sarah is still in there. She's just been buried under years of putting everyone else first. As the session ends, Dr. Martinez gives Sarah homework. I want you to spend 15 minutes each day doing something just for you. Not for David, not for the children, not for anyone else. Just 15 minutes of pure Sarah time. Driving home, Sarah feels emotionally raw, but oddly lighter. Having someone validate her feelings, someone who understands that being needed isn't the same as being valued, feels revolutionary. She stops at the college campus on her way home, as she'd promised herself. The graduate admissions office is tucked into an ivy-covered building that smells like possibility and old books. The counselor, a young woman named Amanda, is enthusiastic as she explains the part-time psychology program. "We have a lot of students who are returning to education after raising families," Amanda says. "Classes meet in the evenings and weekends. It's designed for working adults." Sarah takes the catalogue and application materials, her heart racing with something she hasn't felt in years, excitement about her own future. But reality crashes back as she arrives home to chaos. Emma is crying because she can't find her dance shoes. Marcus is stressed about a math test tomorrow that he forgot to study for, and David is pacing the kitchen on a work call, looking frustrated. "Where have you been?" he mouths, covering his phone. "I needed to leave for my meeting 20 minutes ago." "I told you I had a doctor's appointment and might run errands," Sarah says, but she feels the familiar guilt creeping in. She helps Emma find her shoes in her backpack, where they always are after dance class, sits with Marcus to review math concepts, and gives David an apologetic kiss as he rushes out. As she makes dinner, grilled chicken and vegetables, because David is trying to eat healthier, Sarah thinks about Dr. Martinez's question, 15 minutes a day for herself. It seems simultaneously too little and impossibly much. That evening, after homework is finished and children are bathed and read to and tucked in, Sarah finds David in his home office, laptop open, papers spread across the desk. "How was your day?" she asks, settling into the chair across from his desk. "Stressful. The Peterson account is more complicated than we thought. I'll probably have to work late every night this week." He glances up at her. "How was your doctor's appointment? Everything okay?" This is her opening. She could tell him about the therapist, about feeling lost, about wanting to go back to school. Instead, she hears herself saying, "Everything's fine. Just routine stuff." "Good. Hey, can you handle Emma's pickup tomorrow? This Peterson thing is really heating up." "Of course." The words come automatically. Later, as she lies in bed scrolling through the graduate program information on her phone, Sarah realizes she's been living two lives, the one where she takes care of everyone else, and the one where she dreams of taking care of herself. The gap between them feels enormous. Thursday morning brings a crisis that perfectly encapsulates Sarah's dilemma. Emma wakes up with a fever, clearly too sick for school. David is already in the shower when Sarah checks Emma's temperature, 102 degrees. "David," she calls through the bathroom door, "Emma's really sick. I need to stay home with her." "But I have the Peterson presentation today. Can't you ask your mom to come over?" Sarah's mother lives 2 hours away and works full-time. "I can't ask her to drop everything. Emma needs me." "Sarah, this presentation is huge for my career. Can't you just figure something out?" The casual dismissal of Emma's needs, the assumption that Sarah will just figure something out, crystallizes something that's been building for weeks. "No, David, I can't just figure something out. Our daughter is sick, and she needs her mother." David emerges from the bathroom looking frustrated. "I'm not saying she doesn't, but this is a big day for me. And every day is a big day for me too, David. Every single day I'm here managing everything, making sure your life runs smoothly, so you can have big presentation days." The words hang in the air between them. David stares at her, clearly taken aback by her tone. "Sarah, where is this coming from? You've never had a problem with—" "That's the problem. I've never had a problem with anything. I've just absorbed every problem, every need, every inconvenience, so that you don't have to deal with it." David sits on the bed, his expression shifting from frustration to confusion. "I thought we were a team." "We are a team, but I'm the equipment manager, the coach, the cheerleader, and half the players. You just show up for game day." Emma's weak call from her room interrupts the conversation. "Mommy? I don't feel good." Sarah looks at David, then at the door to Emma's room. The choice feels symbolic of her entire marriage. David's career opportunity versus their daughter's immediate need, with Sarah expected to somehow make both work. "I'm staying with Emma," she says quietly. "You'll have to handle the presentation without whatever you needed from me." As David gets ready for work in tense silence, Sarah tends to Emma, taking her temperature, getting her comfortable on the couch, making chicken soup from scratch because it's what her own mother did when she was sick. Emma curls up next to her, feverish and clingy, and Sarah finds herself treasuring these quiet moments despite the circumstances. Around noon, her phone rings. It's Linda, the mum from Emma's class who had mentioned the support group. "I know this is last minute," Linda says, "but would you like to come to our group today? It's at 1 p.m. at the community center. We're just a bunch of moms who get together to talk about the real stuff, not the Pinterest perfect version of motherhood." Sarah looks at Emma, who's sleeping peacefully on the couch, fever finally breaking. "I have a sick daughter. Bring her. We've all been there. Sometimes the most real conversations happen when we're in the middle of real life." Something about Linda's invitation feels like exactly what Sarah needs. An hour later, she's walking into a circle of women at the community center, Emma wrapped in a blanket on her lap, still drowsy but feeling better. The group is diverse: working mothers, stay-at-home mothers, single mothers, mothers with toddlers and teenagers. What they share is a willingness to talk honestly about the challenges of motherhood without judgment or competition. "I'm Sarah," she says when it's her turn. "I'm here because I think I'm disappearing, and I don't know how to stop it." The words tumble out: her conversation with David that morning, her therapy session, her dreams of graduate school, her fear that she's become so focused on being the perfect wife and mother that she's forgotten how to be a person. "I feel guilty even being here," she admits, "like taking time to think about myself is somehow selfish or wrong." An older woman named Carmen speaks up. "Honey, I raised 4 children and worked full-time, and I can tell you something I wish someone had told me 20 years ago. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you don't take care of yourself, eventually you'll have nothing left to give anyone else." Another mother, Jessica, nods vigorously. "I went through something similar. I was so busy being everyone's everything that I had a complete breakdown. My husband had to take a week off work because I literally could not function. That's when we realized how much I was carrying and how unsustainable it was." "What did you do?" Sarah asks. "We redistributed the load. My husband learned to grocery shop, to coordinate carpools, to remember parent-teacher conference dates. I went back to work part-time, which gave me purpose outside of motherhood. It wasn't easy, there was definitely an adjustment period, but our marriage is stronger now, and I'm a better mother because I'm a happier person." Sarah feels Emma stirring in her arms and adjusts the blanket. "But what if my husband doesn't understand? What if he thinks I'm being ungrateful or dramatic?" Carmen laughs, but kindly. "Sweetie, most men don't understand because they've never had to carry the mental load that we do. They see the visible tasks, cooking, cleaning, driving kids around, but they don't see the invisible labor, the remembering, the planning, the emotional management, the constant worry." Linda adds, "The beautiful thing is that most husbands, once they understand what's really happening, want to help. They just genuinely don't know how much we're juggling because we've gotten so good at making it look effortless." As the group winds down, Sarah feels lighter than she has in months. These women understand her struggles because they've lived them. They don't judge her for feeling overwhelmed or for wanting something beyond motherhood. They see her frustration as valid and her desires as reasonable. Driving home, Emma chattering about the nice ladies they met, Sarah makes a decision. She's going to have a real conversation with David about what needs to change. Not an argument in the heat of a crisis morning, but a thoughtful discussion about how to build a marriage where both partners can pursue their dreams. That evening, after Emma's fever has completely broken and she's eaten a full dinner, Sarah approaches David in his office. He's working late on follow-up from the Peterson presentation, which apparently went well, despite the morning's stress. "Can we talk?" she asks. David closes his laptop and gives her his full attention. "I owe you an apology for this morning. I was stressed about the presentation, but that doesn't excuse dismissing Emma's needs. Or yours." Sarah sits down across from him. "Thank you for saying that. But David, we need to talk about bigger things than just this morning." She tells him about the therapy sessions, about feeling lost and overwhelmed, about the mental load she carries that he doesn't see. She shows him the graduate school materials, explains her dream of becoming a therapist, talks about needing to rediscover who she is beyond being his wife and their children's mother. David listens without interrupting, his expression growing more serious as she talks. "I had no idea you felt this way," he says finally. "I thought you were happy. I thought this arrangement worked for both of us." "It worked for you," Sarah says gently, "and I made it work for me by making myself smaller and smaller until there wasn't much left. What do you need from me?" The question is simple, but Sarah realizes no one has asked her that in years. "I need you to be an equal partner, not just a provider. I need you to carry half the mental load of running our family, and I need your support in going back to school, even if it means some inconvenience and adjustment for all of us." David is quiet for a long moment. You're right. I've been coasting, letting you handle everything because you're so good at it. I didn't realize how unfair that was. I didn't realize it either at first. I thought being needed was the same as being valued. But I need to be valued for who I am, not just for what I do for everyone else. They talk late into the night about practical changes, David taking over certain household responsibilities, sharing the emotional labor of parenting, creating space for Sarah to pursue her education. It's not a magical fix, but it's a beginning. As they get ready for bed, David pulls Sarah into his arms. I fell in love with you because you were passionate and intelligent and had dreams. Somewhere along the way I forgot that those things didn't disappear just because you became a mother. I'm sorry it took you nearly having a breakdown for me to see what I was missing. Sarah feels tears of relief. I'm scared, David. What if I go back to school and I'm terrible at it? What if I can't handle everything? Then we'll figure it out together, like actual partners. That night, for the first time in months, Sarah falls asleep quickly. Emma's fever has broken. David understands what needs to change, and she has a path forward that includes both loving her family and loving herself. But as she'll discover, understanding the problem and implementing solutions are two very different things. The real work is just beginning. Chapter 4. Finding Her Voice. 3 months later, Sarah sits in her first graduate psychology class, surrounded by textbooks and notebooks, feeling like an imposter among students who seem to belong there effortlessly. The professor, Dr. Helen Crawford, is discussing developmental psychology theories, and Sarah finds herself taking notes with an intensity she'd forgotten she possessed. The concept of identity formation doesn't end in adolescence, Dr. Crawford explains. Adults continue to evolve, to question who they are and who they want to become. This process often accelerates during major life transitions. Sarah thinks about her own identity formation, how becoming a wife and mother had felt like the end of her evolution rather than a continuation of it. But sitting in this classroom, learning again, growing again, she feels like she's rediscovering parts of herself that had been dormant. The transition hasn't been smooth. The first few weeks after her conversation with David were filled with awkward negotiations and minor conflicts as they redistributed household responsibilities. David had to learn that managing a family required more than just doing tasks. It required mental organization, emotional awareness, and constant forward thinking. The morning routine alone had been a revelation. When Sarah had asked David to take over getting Marcus ready for school, he'd initially thought it just meant making sure Marcus got dressed and ate breakfast. He hadn't considered the homework check, the backpack inventory, the weather-appropriate clothing decisions, the emotional temperature taking that determined whether Marcus needed extra encouragement or gentle redirection. It's like there's an invisible manual for family life that I never got, David had said, after a particularly chaotic morning when Marcus had shown up to school without his science project. There is no manual, Sarah had replied. There's just paying attention, constant attention. But David was learning, and more importantly, he was understanding why Sarah had felt so overwhelmed. He'd started referring to her mental load as the family CPU, and made jokes about how his brain had been operating as merely a peripheral device in their household system. The jokes helped, but the real change came in smaller moments. David now knew which pediatrician appointments were routine and which required concern. He understood that Emma's meltdowns usually correlated with growth spurts or social stress at school. He remembered that Marcus needed extra protein in his lunch on soccer practice days, and that Thursday was show and tell. Sarah's mother-in-law had been less understanding about the changes. I don't understand why Sarah needs to go to school now, Maria had said to David during one of their weekly phone calls, not realizing Sarah could hear the conversation from the kitchen. She has everything a woman could want. What more does she need? David's response had surprised Sarah. Mom, Sarah is brilliant. She has so much to offer the world beyond just taking care of us. I was selfish to not encourage her dreams earlier. But the children need stability, and you work so hard. The children need to see that their mother has value beyond serving other people. And I work hard at my job. Sarah works hard at everything else. It's time for me to work hard at being a real partner. Sarah had felt a rush of love and gratitude, hearing David defend her ambitions to his mother. It was the first time she'd felt truly supported, rather than just accommodated. Now, 3 months into the new arrangement, their family had found a rhythm. David handled morning routines on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so Sarah could attend early classes. Sarah took evening classes on Mondays and Wednesdays, while David managed homework and bedtime. Weekends were for family time and Sarah's study sessions, which often involved the children doing their homework while she worked on hers. "Mommy, what are you learning about?" Emma had asked the previous weekend, finding Sarah surrounded by textbooks at the kitchen table. "I'm learning about how people's minds work, how they think and feel, and why they do the things they do." "That sounds hard." "It is hard, but it's also really interesting. Did you know that your brain is still growing and changing? That's why learning new things gets easier the more you practice." Marcus had looked up from his math homework. "Is that why you're going to school? To make your brain grow?" Sarah had smiled. "Exactly. Adults need to keep learning too, or our brains get sleepy." What Sarah hadn't expected was how much her return to school would affect her children. Emma had become fascinated with psychology, asking questions about emotions and behavior that impressed her teachers. Marcus had started taking more responsibility for his own homework, inspired by seeing his mother study so diligently. "They're proud of you," Jennifer had observed during one of their now regular coffee dates. "You're modeling something important for them, that learning and growing don't stop when you become an adult." Sarah was also learning things about herself that surprised her. She had a natural talent for understanding human behavior, a gift for making people feel heard and understood. Her professors had commented on her insights during class discussions, and her study group had elected her as their coordinator. "You have excellent instincts," Dr. Crawford had told her after a particularly engaging seminar. "Have you considered specializing in family therapy? Your perspective as a mother and wife gives you a unique understanding of family dynamics." The suggestion had planted a seed. Sarah began focusing her research on family systems, on the invisible dynamics that could make families thrive or struggle. She was particularly drawn to studying the phenomenon she'd lived, how women's identities could become subsumed by their roles as caregivers. One evening, as she worked on a paper about identity development in midlife women, David found her crying at her laptop. "What's wrong?" he asked, settling beside her on the couch. "I'm reading about other women who went through what I went through. Some of them describe it as feeling like they were disappearing. Others talk about feeling like they were living someone else's life." She wiped her eyes. "I'm not the only one, David. There are so many women who lose themselves in marriage and motherhood. Is that what you're going to specialize in? Helping women who feel lost?" Sarah nodded. "I think it might be my calling. I understand what it feels like to love your family desperately, but still feel empty. I know what it's like to be grateful for your life, but still need more from it." David pulled her closer. "I'm proud of you, not just for going back to school, but for having the courage to change our whole life when you realized something wasn't working." "It wasn't just courage," Sarah said. "It was desperation. I was drowning, David. I couldn't keep pretending to be happy when I wasn't." "I know, and I'm sorry it took me so long to see it." As her first semester progressed, Sarah found herself naturally gravitating toward classmates and professors who shared her interest in family therapy. She joined a research group studying maternal identity and mental health. She volunteered at a women's resource center, facilitating support groups for mothers experiencing postpartum depression and anxiety. The work was emotionally challenging, but deeply fulfilling. Sarah discovered that her years of managing family dynamics, of reading emotional cues and mediating conflicts, had given her skills that translated beautifully to therapeutic work. "You have a gift for holding space," her supervisor at the resource center told her. "You make people feel safe to be vulnerable." Sarah's own therapy sessions with Dr. Martinez continued, but they had evolved from crisis management to personal growth. They talked about Sarah's childhood patterns of people-pleasing, her fear of disappointing others, her difficulty setting boundaries. "You've made remarkable progress," Dr. Martinez observed during one session. 6 months ago, you couldn't even identify your own needs. Now you're pursuing them actively while still maintaining your relationships." "It feels like I'm becoming myself for the first time since I was 22, Sarah said. "Like I took a 15-year detour and I'm finally back on my actual path." "What does that path look like now?" Sarah smiled. "I want to get my master's degree, then eventually get licensed as a family therapist. I want to help other women who feel lost in their roles. I want to help families redistribute emotional labor more fairly. I want Emma and Marcus to grow up seeing that adults can change and grow and pursue new dreams." The changes in their family hadn't been without challenges. David occasionally forgot his new responsibilities and reverted to expecting Sarah to handle everything. The children sometimes resented the reduced attention from their mother. Sarah herself struggled with guilt on days when her studies took priority over homemade meals or elaborate birthday parties. But overall, the family was thriving in ways Sarah hadn't expected. David had discovered that he actually enjoyed being more involved in the children's daily lives. Emma and Marcus had become more independent and self-sufficient, and Sarah had found a sense of purpose and excitement about the future that energized her entire approach to life. One evening in December, as Sarah worked on final papers for her first semester, Emma curled up next to her on the couch. "Mommy, are you happy now?" The question took Sarah back to that morning months ago when Emma had asked if she was sad. Her 8-year-old daughter had been the first to notice that something was wrong, the first to see through Sarah's careful facade of contentment. "Yes, sweetheart, I am happy. Not all the time. Nobody is happy all the time. But I feel like myself again." "What does that mean, feeling like yourself?" Sarah considered how to explain it to a child. "It means I remember what I like to do, what I'm good at, what makes me excited to wake up in the morning. For a long time, I only thought about what other people needed from me. Now I think about what I need too." "Is that why you're in school?" "That's one reason. I'm also in school because I want to help other people the way Dr. Martinez helped me." Emma was quiet for a moment. "I think you'll be good at that. You're good at making people feel better." As Sarah tucked Emma into bed that night, her daughter said something that made her heart swell with pride and relief. "Mommy, when I grow up, I want to have my own dreams like you do." "What kind of dreams, baby?" "I don't know yet, but I want to be someone who does important things, not just someone who takes care of other people all the time." Sarah kissed Emma's forehead, overwhelmed with gratitude. Her daughter would grow up with a different model of womanhood, one where nurturing others and nurturing yourself weren't mutually exclusive. Later that night, as Sarah and David got ready for bed, they reflected on how much their lives had changed. "Do you miss it?" David asked. "The way things used to be, when everything was simpler?" Sarah considered the question. "I miss how easy it was when I didn't question anything, but I don't miss feeling empty. I don't miss disappearing a little more each day." "I miss having you available for everything," David admitted. "But I love seeing you excited about something again. I love watching you discover what you're capable of." "It's just the beginning," Sarah said. "I have 3 more years of school, then internships, then building a practice. It's going to be a long journey. Then it's a good thing we're partners now instead of just roommates managing a household together." As they turned off the lights, Sarah felt a deep sense of gratitude, not the performative gratitude she'd forced herself to feel for years, but genuine appreciation for a life that finally had room for all of who she was. She was still David's wife, still Emma and Marcus's mother, still the one who remembered to buy birthday gifts and schedule dentist appointments. But she was also Sarah, a woman with dreams and ambitions, and a future that belonged to her. The invisible weight she'd carried for so long, the weight of being responsible for everyone else's happiness while neglecting her own, had finally begun to lift. In its place was something lighter but stronger, the knowledge that she deserved to take up space in her own life. As sleep came, Sarah smiled in the darkness. Tomorrow she would submit her final papers, celebrate the end of her first semester, and begin planning for the spring. She would help Emma with her school project, and attend Marcus's basketball game and cook David's favorite dinner. But she would do these things as a whole person, not as someone who had disappeared into her roles. She would do them from a place of choice rather than obligation, love rather than duty. For the first time in 15 years, Sarah Chen Martinez knew exactly who she was. And more importantly, she knew who she was becoming. The journey wasn't over. In many ways, it was just beginning. But Sarah was no longer afraid of the future. She was excited about it. And that, she realized, was exactly what happiness felt like. The end. This story explores the common but often unspoken experience of women who lose themselves in the caregiving roles of wife and mother. Sarah's journey represents the struggles many women face when trying to balance self-care with family responsibilities, and the courage required to reclaim one's identity and dreams. The narrative emphasizes that seeking personal fulfillment doesn't mean abandoning one's family. It means modeling wholeness and showing children that adults can continue to grow and evolve throughout their lives. And now, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and if my story touched your heart today. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next confession. Give this video a like if it resonated with you, and share it with another woman who needs to know she's not alone. Together, our voices are stronger.